Good morning, third graders. Sorry I can't be with you today, but I thought I would show you our lesson on a video so that we can do the same thing even when we're not together. All right, so today we're going to be starting a project that's probably going to take us about 3 classes altogether. It is an under the sea drawing / painting. Today's lesson, we're going to start by learning how to do a simple line drawing. That means the outline only of a fish. Once you have drawn your fish, the next step will be to use either black crayon or black pastel to outline it. And then finally, we're going to add simple patterns to our fish. So patterns might include line patterns like stripes, wavy lines, diagonal lines, or it could be shape patterns such as adding big circles or adding maybe a triangular pattern or a grid pattern. All right, so let's start by introducing you to this project with a Google slideshow. All right, so this is called Fish Drawings. How to draw a fish by observing an illustration. I actually just copied this fish drawing right off of another page, and you will have papers in front of you in the classroom that you can look at this same fish and draw it yourself if this is the one you choose. So the first thing you want to think about is observing or looking at the basic shape of fish bodies. I want you to look at these fish and think about the different parts that are included. So when I look at these fish, I see the bodies. I then see the fins and the tail. So sometimes, the basic shape of the body is pretty similar. It's almost like an oval, a pointy oval, maybe even a little more like a football shape because of the pointy mouths. Then they all have fins of different shapes, and they all have tails that are different shapes. So when you look at your fish, break it down into the simple shapes that can help you to draw it. So this is almost a triangle, another similar almost a triangle with a wave in it, almost an oval, and this will make your drawing easier. So step 1 of the assignment, you will draw one simple large fish line drawing in pencil. Now, why do we always draw in pencil first? That's right, so you can erase your mistakes. The key here is to make your fish big. You're going to be adding other details to your drawing later. We're going to add some seaweed. We may have smaller fish or sea creatures in the background, but the fish drawing is the focal point, the main part of your drawing. That's what you should be focusing on. The next step, once your line drawing, which is just the outline of your fish, is completed, please add 2 patterns to your fish. So look at my fish for a minute and think in your head, what 2 patterns did Mrs. Conroe add? So the patterns that I added was a wiggly line pattern that right here that creates stripes on my fish. That's the first pattern I created. The second pattern that I added were these large dots. So think about what 2 patterns you want to add to your fish. If you choose to add more patterns, that's fine, but everyone must add at least 2. Finally, you may trace your drawing with pastel or crayon. I suggest black, but if you don't have black, another color would work. And then in the following classes, we will add sea plants, color, and detail. Okay, so let's get started with our drawings. So right here, I have a page of fish that I printed out right from the slideshow that I just showed you. this fish this fish right here was the fish that I was looking at when I drew this fish. Now to show you a different fish, I'm going to flip my paper over and I'm going to be looking at this fish. All right, so get your pencils ready and follow along with me if you also like this fish. If not, you can wait and you can do your own fish afterwards. Okay, so when I look at this fish, I'm looking at first the shape of the body. This fish has a very rounded, curved top, almost like a rainbow, and then it curves around like this, like a smile. I'm ignoring these little fins right now because I can add those later. So let's start here at the fish's mouth. Now remember, you want to make your fish big. So I'll start here and I come up and I start with the big curved line for the back. That's this part right here. Now, if you like that, you move on to doing the bottom part of your fish's body, the belly area. That part is more like a smile. So if you compare it, this is like a rainbow, then you're going to add a big smile at the bottom. There we go. I've got the basic shape of my fish's body. Now I'm looking at this tail. Now I'm thinking, what if you don't like that tail? Could you make your tail look different? Absolutely. But just for the sake of this video, I'm going to do it like this one. So the first part, it comes up like this in a gentle curve. If you want to, you can make a point where it goes to. So let's curve that up like this. That's this line. Now I'm going to come down to the bottom, and this curve goes in the opposite direction, like that. Now this in here looks like two wavy lines going this way, two wavy lines going this way. 1, 2, where I stop. 1, 2, and I stop. So now I've got the basics of my fish's body and tail drawn. The next things I'm going to look at are the fins. So this back fin is pretty tall. It starts out with a gentle curved line up and then this little wavy line down. So when I do that, I think about, okay, how far back do I want it to start? I'm going to say about right here, and I want it to end about right there. So I curve it up like this, and then I do this little swishy, almost like a backwards S, but a very skinny backwards S. And that's it. These fins down here overlap the body. So good thing I'm using pencil because I'm going to have to erase. I take my pencil, it's about right here. If you look at this picture, it starts about right there. So about there. Curves around this way. Then it comes down here. And then it comes back up like that. That's little fin number 2. So we've got a fin here, a fin here. Now, because this overlapped the body, you can see that there's no line right here. You wouldn't see that because it is overlapping. So I'll use my pencil and erase that line right there. Now let's add this other small fin in the back. Comes across like this and down. Now it curves back up to the body. Just like that. Again, this little fin is overlapping the body, so I need to erase this line right here. Whoop! And voila. there's the other small fin. On this picture, this fish has a tiny little smile. You can add that if you want. Why not? Give it a tiny little smile. And then the eye. So let's give it an eye. There's one circle with a smaller circle in the middle. And there's my fish's eye. So that is the completed line drawing of my fish. The next step is to add 2 patterns. So what 2 patterns could you add to it? Some ideas, you could add line patterns. So for line patterns, there's different types of lines. Wavy lines, zigzag lines. There you might add diagonal lines. You might add vertical lines, straight up and down, horizontal lines, across. Think of what type of a line pattern you can add. For your second pattern, you might want to add a shape pattern. So there are different shape patterns that you could add. You could add circle shape patterns. You could add square shape patterns. You could add heart shape patterns. So think about what shape pattern you might like to add. If you choose to do 2 line patterns, that's fine. If you choose to do 2 shape patterns, that's also fine. If you want to do 1 of each, again, also fine. So think in your head, first, what type of patterns do I want to add? And second, where do I want to add them? So let's go back to my drawing and look at my fish, and we'll think about where would be good places to add these patterns. So when I look at my fish, the 2 areas that I think would make the most sense to add the patterns to would be the body. And then I think I might actually add 3 on this one, because I think it might be fun to add a line pattern in this top fin as well as in the tail. Now, when you're thinking ahead to the next class we're going to be painting our fish. So if you're going to plan on painting, you do want to make sure that your patterns are not too small, that it will be difficult to paint. So I'm going to actually draw a little line here so that I separate where the body and the tail are. I think I'd like to add big polka dots on my fish, because I think that would be fun. So, large polka dots. Some of my polka dots look like they continue on the other side of my fish, so it might not be a whole dot. And I fill the body with these large dots. Okay. The second part is that I was thinking of is adding line patterns in these 2 in the fin and the tail. Whew, I'm having trouble talking. So if I wanted to do a line pattern up here, I like this swirly line on the back of this fin. So I think I'm going to repeat that as a line pattern. I want to make sure that they're spaced far enough out that it will be easy to paint. If I put it right here, that's too close, and it's going to take me forever. So I'm going to give it a little space. Curve it. Curve it. Curved. Curved. And that's it. In the fin, I think it might be fun to add a diagonal, or in the tail, I'd like to add a diagonal line pattern. So you can see that I'm not really happy with that one. Good thing I have an eraser. I'm going to change that, more diagonal. And I'm picturing that when I paint this next class, I will probably do a repeating color pattern. So maybe I might do pink, purple, pink, purple, pink. Maybe orange, yellow, orange. Maybe my polka dots would also be a pattern. Maybe I would do purple in the background and green dots. I have a lot of options. So the very last step, my friends, is to take a black crayon or pastel and trace over all of your drawing. I'm not going to show you that part because you guys know how to trace. But one thing that you always want to remember though is after you trace, if there's lines showing through, what do you do with them? Go back and erase them. Okay? All right, my friends. So I hope that you enjoy drawing your fish. I can't wait to see them when I'm back with you next week. Have a great day, and I'll see you next week. Bye.